So awesome, guys. Thanks for joining today. I'm Sagar. I'm the co founder and CEO of Multiplier, a company that helps international teams with their payroll and compliance based out of Singapore. Uh, very glad to be here with all of you today and share a bit about a future of work and how we are looking at it from Multiplier's perspective. uh, we will try to have a session in two parts where would some of the topics that I've been asked to talk about. I'll touch upon those topics, and then do share your thoughts, views, or any questions that you might have on the chat or directly. So let's keep the session a bit more interactive today. So, I wanted to talk about three or four topics when it comes to future of work. As a tech entrepreneur, the three or four important topics that comes, that the challenges that we face today. One is how do we build our technology teams, in a world where remote work is getting popular, distributed work is gaining traction. Building teams in a concentrated manner is very difficult. How do you build that out, right? So that is one. The second thing that we'll talk about today is which countries are companies employing from today, and might be relevant for you guys because how can we be well prepared for being part of the workforce of future tomorrow. The third pressing issue that a CEO thinks about today is whether if I'm starting my business, should I start building this my teams in a more bottom up manner or top down manner, right? That's another important point. And the fourth point is how do I retain talent in a world where capital is abundant and talent is shortage. How do I retain my people? How do I make them feel important so that they don't leave me and there's no attrition in the company, right? So let's talk about one by one. Do ping in the chat if you want me to touch about anything else and any of that. So thinking about building tech teams fast, right? So few things that are happening today is a market like India, which used to be a tech backend for the world, has no more the economic viability used to, right? So in countries like India, where technology team or technology talent is in abundance, now with the influx of capital, what's happening is there is price inflation. So today hiring an engineer in India and making sure that they join on the joining that date that they promise is extremely difficult, right? So it has given surrounding areas in Southeast Asia and South Asia a chance to now emerge as technology hub, right? More and more as India becomes a consumption center, a self consumption center, as opposed the export center that it used to be. Countries like Vietnam and Sri Lanka and Ukraine and Russia are getting popular for building tech teams, right? So today, a company wanting to hire tech talent has no choice but to look at this countries in order to hire tech talent faster, right? So one of the things that I found extremely useful to attract tech talent is to get a leader who's well recognized in the industry in terms of technology and has worked both for big companies and for startups, right? So if you get somebody who people want to join and want to work for and have had worked for in the past, it becomes easier. It's today we are at a juncture where just being able to build the right technology team is often considered as a defensibility in the business. So it's very important to get the right leader, and it is very important to tap the right market. And with technology teams, it's extremely important that you have an open culture where they feel valued, and they don't just feel. So if the if the company is very product driven, and product is the main center of the company and everything else just follows, uh, you will be able to attract good talent. So that is the idea around how we want to build technology teams faster. Obviously, with technology teams, when you are interviewing with tech folks, you have to move fast, because today they have 4 5 offers that they have the luxury to choose from. It cannot be a 1 month elongated process when you're ghosting them for a week's time and taking your own sweet time to arrive at a result. Today, it's extremely important and prerogative that uh, you also adjust with the changing times, and wrap up your interview process, your reference check process, your coding test in a week's time or so, right? So that's about it. The other topic is which countries are getting extremely popular, right? So as I said, Vietnam is one market which is traditionally not been so explored, primarily because of language reasons. There's still, and it's not even a myth. There's still a long way to go before the population starts speaking English fluently, and then you have enough good talent who also start speaking English. But at Multiplier, we take pride in building out one of our key technology centers in Vietnam. At our company, we hire tech folks from India to Sri Lanka to Singapore to Vietnam and multiple different markets. So that's one country which is producing both back end and front end engineers, which are relevant to today's times at a very fast pace, right? The other country is Sri Lanka. As I said, obviously, with the technology boom in India, the engineers in India are getting consumed for the startups within, and hence Sri Lanka is an unexplored India of the world, as I like to speak sometimes, where those folks are extremely hardworking, very talented, very well trained, and speak very good English, and are extremely trustworthy people. Right? So, a couple of countries that you may not imagine and have recently popped up in recent past are Ghana and Nigeria. So, these are two countries which nobody would imagine, but the density of technology teams in these two countries is extremely high. Even some of the bigger technology listed companies of the US are exploring their tech centers in that part of the world. Some of our clients also have technology teams in that part of the world. So those two countries and in Africa is definitely worth exploring. uh, the other two countries are Russia and Ukraine. Often the countries have suffered, especially Russia has suffered because of Western sanctions, but the technology teams in the technology talent in Russia and Ukraine is immense. It's extremely cost effective. These days the Indian talent is expensive than Russian and Ukrainian talent. And the good part about building your teams in two time zones is your technology development is working round the clock. So that is extremely beneficial for you to move fast as a company and build fast as a company, if you have teams working around the clock, right? So that's to give you some numbers, Singapore needs 100,000 engineers, but it only produces 10,000. So there's a lot of scope when it comes to be there for take up more engineering courses, and for Singapore to build more engineering courses and students, so that the workforce can be created as the industry requires it. The other topic that I would like to touch upon today is building teams top down or bottom up. Uh, so as a founder myself, I have a strong preference to building it top down, where we get a relevant leader of times who has done it and who has also the ability to attract the right talent for that function, right? So there are two schools of thoughts in this. One is either you can do it top down, which means you first hire the boss and then you get start ask him to build out his team or ask her to build out her team. The other school of thought is you start building doers first, as they call it, like young energetic people. You hire them first, they start doing all the groundwork, they start doing all the rigor, and then at some point when the company has evolved, you bring in a leader in the mix. uh, let's evaluate both pros and cons of these two. So in the first setting, what happens is, you when you hire a senior leader, you two things. One is, you as a founder need to get used to working with senior leaders, giving them the autonomy and power to make the decisions by themselves, right, and get out of the way. The second thing that happens is, how do you enable them to succeed? And the only way possible is for them to let them build their teams, and not ask them to do work themselves. The only most biggest contribution that they can do to business is bring even more better people into the company, so that at least you have a great team. And if you are bringing a great leader, their job is just to guide the team rather than work themselves, which I've realized very recently as well. The other school of thought is building teams bottom up also has its advantages, where you would be building a team in a very cost effective manner, where you will hire junior people fast, they'll work hard for you. But oftentimes, of the problem that I've seen with that is the fundamentals get distorted, because those guys are hustlers, those guys are hardworking, but they are not the masters of that particular task. So it wouldn't develop in a manner of speaking as to how it should have developed the function in the first place, right? So that is very important. No approach is a right approach. It all depends on what is the comfort zone with the founder. In my case, I would want to trust people, and hence I would want to know that they've done this before. And so I have a preference for the first one. So talking about another important topic is, how do we retain talent in the future of work, right? The future that we are headed towards, it will be a hybrid workforce, which means you may not be able to see your colleagues on a day-to-day basis in office as you guys used to before. And the famous water cooler talks cannot happen. So, how do you maintain a connect with your employees, with your colleagues, with your bosses, and with your juniors in a setting where you are not seeing them face to face every day? It's a big challenge. Some of you will realize that you will lose touch to the reality very soon if you're not actively making efforts to be in touch with the team, to figure out where they are. And as you get bigger as an organization, what happens is, you might be feeling certain things as founder, but that may not be true, because you are not touched to the ground employee anymore. You don't know what the developer in the tech team is thinking. So it becomes extremely important that you put in processes and systems to remain in touch and to create that culture, and it starts extremely top down, right? If you want something to be followed in the company, you have to set that example as a CEO or a founder. That's the only way organizations would make that as a habit, if it's a top down approach. So few challenges here, right? So you don't see them face to face. How do you create that connect, that they love working here, they love working for Multiplier or any other organization that they're working for. They feel connected to the mission. They feel connected to the idea that you are trying to chase, and the future that you imagine as a founder. So Few things that we find extremely helpful is over communication. Second is extreme empathy, that nobody can ever be rude to an employee in the company. And third is extremely meritocratic culture with proper documentation. So talking about over communication, sometimes you don't realize, but you don't end up communicating enough, and because you think you know it, and by the virtue of the cloud surrounding your brain will tell you that hey, people might know it as well, but that doesn't work that way. You need to teach them, you need to convey your vision, you need to convey where you are in the journey, you need to convey what we are doing good, what we are doing bad, you need to convey what you expect out of these people. So that over communication becomes extremely important in today's world. Whether you do a town hall once a month, whether you bring in people together, whether you do founders hour every week, whether you do one-on-ones with your managers and they do with their managers, and so on and so forth. Extremely important, and extremely important to communicate over and over what the mission of the company is, where are we headed, how the next 2 quarters would look like, and how the next 5 years would look like. The second thing is empathy, and I have found this extremely helpful to retain and even attract talent. How do you show that you care about your team in the moment of truth? The moment of truth is essentially a concept where are you available when they need you the most. So let's say in a setting where you're remote, and if one of your one of your colleagues family member is suffering through COVID, how do you show love, how do you show empathy, how do you show support? That will go a long way in that, because that's the moment of truth. He or she is extremely low at that point. If you provide support, emotional support, whatever kind of support that the person needs, she perhaps just needs time away and somebody fill in their role. So whatever support you can provide in that setting goes a long way in retaining that talent. Extreme empathy, as a founder, the role is always to show empathy and love to the people and employees, and care towards them, so that they feel that hey, there is a figure sitting somewhere. See, now they cannot see you physically, so they should feel that there's a figure sitting somewhere who is there to look after me, and no matter what happens, I'll be taken care of. That feeling of psychological safety is extremely important. The third point is extremely meritocratic and documented processes and culture, right? So nobody likes to feel left out just because they haven't put in enough number of hours talking to the manager. That is the wrong way of building the company. If you really want a culture where people are truly enjoying remote work, future of work, then you have to make sure that they don't feel left out because somebody is closer to the manager and whatnot. So how do you achieve that? You make things extremely transparent, extremely documented, and extremely meritocratic. These are the three things are extremely important to make sure the idea that you can retain your top talent, they can grow in the company, and idea is to give them the opportunities, and you just being an advisor to the team, right? So these are the four topics that, guys, that I wanted to touch upon today. Very happy to take any questions and learn from you guys. I think we have one question from Raja Muhammad Faridul Halim Raja Muhammad. Hi, from Alicia. My question is how the managers try to maintain and encourage the skillful senior workers stay in the company, and new junior workers to learn from the seniors in the COVID pandemic situation. No, very, very important question. I think it's extremely valid point. Uh, See, I think the 2 points here, right? The way to hire and retain very senior managers is to make sure a, they are incentivized correctly, and b, they have growth opportunities in the company, right? So nobody Nobody likes to join a company saying that, hey, I have done this before. Even, at least in a technology sense of the world, nobody likes to join the company to say that, hey, I have done this before, now I can do this again here. They would always like, no matter how mature they are in their career, they would always like to see a growth opportunity. So two things are extremely important. They are in a certain stage in their career. How do you incentivize them correctly in terms of monetary incentivization and whatnot, right? Whether it's the cash or the equity that you share with them, you have to be very generous with that. Second most important thing is what they can gain being in the company for next 3 to 5 years. So you also have to show them a better version of themselves, that, hey, if you were to come here, obviously you will contribute to the company with the skill set that you bring, but also the company contributes you to your skill set, and this is how you might look like after 3 years. So you have to sell the vision of the company and what is their part in building and executing that vision out for you. So that is very important. Once you sort that out, once you give the psychological safety and enough permission for senior leaders to succeed, they will take care of junior employees themselves. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks, Myra, for inviting me. And, really had a good time. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, thank you for tuning into this webinar. We know for sure this skill will go a long way, so if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more webinar replays. See you again. Bye.